We've got a few big games for week 6. We can go ahead and get into our predictions before we switch gears into the NBA season.
Let's do it.
What we looking like on them picks, man?
Yeah, let's
So
get into them picks, Cass.
last week was not a good week. It was a good week for Chris. Yeah.
Was it?
So out of the 6 picks, yeah, it was. Out of the 6 picks, I got 2 correct, being San Francisco and the Jets. Chris got 4 correct: Philly, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, and the Jets. And then Shiloh only got San Francisco.
Damn.
Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't. Of course, we all picked Buffalo, which disappointed us. We all picked Washington, which we didn't see Chicago winning. And of course, we all picked San Francisco, which ended up winning. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't like a super surprising week, but there were like some. Oh, okay, well, that's cool. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a rough week
Who in the lead though?
Me and you. So right now, Chris is back in the lead.
He's
by
up.
2. Yep.
Damn.
Yep. And me and you were tied.
Okay. Comeback season,
Kurt. Had to catch up real quick.
I
had to catch up.
He did catch up because he only had 1 correct last week.
Well, with that being said, we can go ahead and start off with the first game of the week. Yeah, we always do Thursday night. Chiefs versus Broncos. Do we need to talk too much about it, or are y'all gonna go home? Y'all picking rest?
Upset alert? Nah, hell no. I'm
picking Chiefs.
I'm picking Chiefs. Chiefs at home too.
I do think it'll be a little closer than it. They need this game. The Broncos. I think they'll end up coming up short, and then we start seeing some another fire set. We talked about the Panthers, but I do think they keep it close for most of the game, if not the whole game, and maybe the Chiefs even go down and have a game-winning drive. But I'm going with the Chiefs as well.
Yeah, I can believe that. I think it's just gonna be a typical Chiefs game outside of the Chiefs playing. Was that
the Bears?
The Bears. Outside of them playing the Bears, all their games been very, very close.
Very close.
I mean,
yeah. Close. They haven't been dominating.
Whether they still win the game,
offenses. Yeah, offense.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I have some questions about it, but
I do too. But
we'll wait and see.
Nah, I don't want to patch Mahomes.
Do you think there's a chance that Travis not gonna suit up? They say it's a high ankle sprain.
He's playing, but he won't play. He won't play every snap. Like, I don't think they're gonna bring him in and out of the game, and they probably won't even need him honestly that much.
Yeah,
that's how I think.
We'll see. We'll see.
So we all got Kansas City. All right.
So next big game, it kind of lost a little bit of its luster. This is actually something that I've obviously been pounding the table for. The Colts versus Jacksonville. I said that the Colts would obviously. I did say that it was going to be a close division. I did say I think that the Colts were going to win. Obviously, Anthony Richardson being out has really, changed the outlook of what that could be. But what do you guys have for your picks this week?
It's division game is tough to pick because I mean Gardner Minshew did play well in the start that he had against the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean I'm gonna go Jacksonville because they're at home, but that's pretty much the only reason I'm picking them. I don't really like what I see for Jacksonville too much, and I think the Colts have been playing very well, but I'm just go with the home team on this one. I don't make two. I'm not confident in it, but
so you could speak up, man.
Man, I had Jacksonville win the division, but Gardner Minshew coming back home, man. He played for Jacksonville. He coming back. Yeah. He about to go crazy. I feel like it's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be one of them good games. Like I just remember, when he came in and played for the Eagles with the Eagles last year, he came in against our divisional opponent. It was the Cowboys, and man was just going crazy. I mean, he was throwing touchdown left and right. So I mean, he's capable of having a game like that. He is definitely capable of doing it. So I think they're going to win. Like you said, Jacksonville just ain't impressive at all. They haven't shown me the fact that I feel like they'll be the divisional winner. Like they haven't shown me nothing. So I think the Colts will get them this time.
I agree, and obviously I'm being a homer here, but actually, I think the first game, I think the Colts really outplayed Jacksonville for most of the game, and then obviously Anthony Richardson threw the pick, and then it got out of it. They ended up scoring pretty much the same thing they did at the Buffalo. Travis Etienne scoots under somebody and goes and scores. But I do kind of agree with you, Chris. I think that Gardner Minshew comes into Jacksonville, revenge game for him. Obviously, Trevor was the person that replaced him. And so I think that Gardner Minshew, the Colts have really been playing well up front. They get their left tackle back this week, Bernard Ryman, as long as there's no complications with the concussion protocol. He did practice today. Queenie Pay, same thing, getting their starting right end back. And also Shaq Leonard, I did mention him earlier. I did mention him on purpose earlier. Shaq Leonard has not played. He hasn't played bad, but he hasn't been himself. I do think this is the game that he makes that punch out, that fumble that we're all used to seeing. I think this is the game for him that we see him finally make a big impact play. And then ultimately, one more thing that I wanted to add. The rookie cornerbacks, like I had mentioned for the Colts, have been playing well. They both did not play in that first game against Jacksonville, and Jacksonville, Calvin really especially got off in the first half. I do think that we will see a little bit difference of that this week. Juju Brents played really well against DeAndre Hopkins last week, and I think we see him play well against Calvin Ridley. So I'm going with the Colts.
Okay.
For a long-winded answer. But with that being said, sticking in the division and going overseas, what do y'all think about that Tennessee-Baltimore?
Ooh. I'm gonna go with Baltimore. They need to show up. They need to stop playing. They need to take over this. They should have the division in their hand
already.
Right now.
Already.
And they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Tough first game back from Marlon Humphrey, by the way.
Yeah. But I just think they're just a better team than Tennessee. They're just a flat out better team. I don't think it's gonna be a good game. I'm thinking like a 13-point win, something like that, somewhere around that area.
13-point win. Okay. What about you, Cass?
I'm gonna go Tennessee in this one. Man. I'm gonna go Tennessee. The only thing that's keeping me from like being super confident in that is because Baltimore lost last week and they had that taste in their mouth. And they know they got to be better. But it's just something telling me to pay Tennessee in this one. I can't really explain it, but I think their defense is going to come up pretty big in this one though.
So I'm also going to go with Baltimore. The Tennessee Titans got pretty beat up this past week. I don't know if Tier Tart is going to come back, their nose tackle. If he is not back there, we just saw what the Colts did to them defensively. So I do think that the Ravens will kind of get off, run all over them. And then I do think that the traveling earlier in the week will be a factor. Mm-hmm. And I think that the Ravens get off hot and get the dub.
Okay. We'll see.
We shall see. But with that being said, we can also stick in the division there. Bengals, Seahawks, a big game. Big game for the Bengals season. Big game for the Seahawks to kind of keep up with the 49ers in division in hopes of winning that division. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. Like I did mention earlier that I like that the Bengals look like they were back, but I do not think that they were back, that they are back, should I say. Seahawks coming off a bye week. I think that they'll have something for that defense. Like you mentioned, the defense has played well in some games. And they've also kind of been suspect in others. I do think the Seahawks kind of get off this week. My boy Devin Witherspoon makes a big play in this game, and the Seahawks take the dub.
I'm gonna go with the Bengals. I think last game, got their confidence up. I think that we saw a little bit better from Joe Burrow, and I think they're just gonna keep it rolling. They ain't got no choice but to keep it rolling at this point. But
Same
like I
Cincy
said,
too.
right, and like I said earlier, with Baltimore not taking care of business, they leaving that door open. So if they gonna strike, if they gonna try to get back in good position, they need to do it now. So I'm gonna go with the Bengals.
All
Okay.
right. I'm gonna go Cincinnati too.
Okay.
I think they catch their stride. I had them win the division. I had them being the first team in the AFC, first seed in the AFC, so I need them to win. But no, I think they catch their stride and get back on track. And I think this win right here will propel them to a tough win next week. We don't got to jump too far ahead. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I see what you're trying to get at. You saying that they're gonna be the ones to knock out the undefeateds. Okay. 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 Okay, we got two more games that we can look at. The first one being the Lions and the Bucks. Obviously, the
too.
Bucks are coming. It is a big game. It's a big game for the Bucks to kind of prove themselves. They are coming off a bye week. What you guys? You guys ride with Baker? You riding with the Lions?
I would never ride with Baker.
Man, it's the Lions, man. Lions got this.
Wow, y'all hating on my boy Baker like that?
Man,
No,
Baker still ain't got his. Baker still got
Coming off a bye week?
lie to you.
I think Detroit defense is legit, and I think they're gonna show it now. Now, Tampa Bay's offensive line has been really keeping Baker upright a little bit this season, which has been good to see. Which has propelled him honestly to put up the numbers he has been, because he hasn't had an offensive line he hasn't been behind an offensive line like this. But I think Detroit. I think they on a mission, man, and it just seems like they got it. It just seems like they got it this season. So I'm going.
About you, Chris?
I also said Detroit. I mean, it's Baker. I don't believe in Baker still. He still ain't showed me enough. I get the bye week, but like Cass said, it's just something about the Lions, man. They got something to prove. They it's almost like, people, they probably feel like people still don't really think they're anything, Coming into the season, the biggest thing was, Jared Goff still ain't a good quarterback. Jared Goff, this, that, and the third. I mean, he's been solid.
He's the number one rated quarterback per PFF.
Yeah.
On the season. So
I think they're gonna get a dub. It's gonna be a good game though. I do think this is one of the better games of the weekend. I will say that.
I think it'll be a blowout.
I don't know if it'll be a blowout, but I do think the Lions win convincingly. I think the Bucks will come out and jump on them pretty quick. Obviously, they're coming off a bye week, so they'll be well rested. But then things will settle down, and that's kind of tough actually. Now that I think about it, they are going against Todd Bowles. So I don't, we like to say that Jared Goff doesn't play well under pressure. But like I said, I'm still going to stick with the Lions. I think this is the first game. This will be the first game of the season that they kind of get their whole crew offensively, with J-Mo being back and Amon-Ra coming back this week off injury, because I think he said he'll play. Yeah. So I do think they put up another 30 burger, maybe even 40, and I think ultimately the Bucks won't be able to keep up offensively.
That's what I think. And they kind of had a pseudo bye week. They had the Panthers last week, so I mean,
very disrespectful.
All right.
But for the next game of the week, well, hopefully, because we thought it was going to be the game of the week last week, but we see what the Cowboys put together. So, Cowboys Chargers Monday Night Football standalone game. Yep. What you guys got? Another good one.
Man, I got the Chargers, man. I think the Chargers I think the Chargers definitely gonna win this one. This is gonna be another test to see, what Dak made of, because they're going against another team that actually their offense can put up points.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely can put up points. It ain't gonna be no slouch. I'm not saying they're gonna dominate their defense, but they're gonna put the Cowboys in a predicament like, hey, Dak, here's the ball. Go make it happen. Look, we did what we can do. this is this is a good offense. Like, what are you gonna keep us in game or whatnot? So I think if the Cowboys don't win, this is gonna be a crazy week for them.
Oh yeah, I mean every week is crazy for the Cowboys.
I
But
mean,
I agree with you.
Yeah, but it's just especially if they go with if especially if it comes down to Dak making plays and he don't make the play, it's like you just lost your offensive coordinator and now he's over there and you.
Yeah,
but I got the Chargers winning though. Either way,
for me, I think this bye week was huge for the Chargers, especially for Kellen Moore specifically. I think he's planning for this game. I think he had this game circled on his calendar. He had the bye week to kind of redesign the offense to kind of deal with the loss of Mike Williams, and create. Hopefully we see Quentin Johnston, more involved in the offense, along with Joshua Palmer. But I really want to see him kind of break out. Of course, Keenan Allen is going to be tough. It's going to be tough for that Dallas defense. But I got Dallas though. I got Dallas winning this one. I think it's like I don't know why I'm picking them. Like, I have no reason to pick Dallas, but I think they'll win this. I think they pull this out, man.
I mean, and they like to say that typically when a team has a bad outing, they typically bounce back pretty well. And this is the match between two coaches, two of the probably the most criticized coaches when it comes to their decision making in game, especially late in games. So that'll be interesting to see that matchup versus Staley and Mike McCarthy. But ultimately, I think the Chargers.
Also, Austin Eckler's coming back.
Yep, and that's one of the things that I was going to mention. Austin Eckler's returning. He's returning off of the bye week. I think the Chargers put it to the Cowboys and Dak as well. I do think that it'll be close for most of the game, but we haven't seen the Cowboys offense look really good at all to this point. I do also think that with the Chargers having that bye week, they can kind of set up their defense and have a reset and retool for them after they've kind of started off a little slow, and then came on strong in the end with Khalil Mack having 6 sacks. But I think the Chargers pull it out, and then like we said, there's going to be a lot of questions about Dak. A lot of questions about the Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, everybody.
He loses this game after taking over. If the offense looks how it's looked, that's on Mike. Yeah, I don't want to hear that much about Dak. Like, that's on Mike.
Put it to you just like I'll say this: if they lose this game and that Cowboys don't go on to win the Super Bowl, or at least make the NFC Championship, this is probably already going to happen anyway. He's definitely, just go ahead and count him out. He's gone.
Key card off.
Yeah, but one of the questions that is definitely going to be asked and is always asked, and I want to get you guys' take on it, is Dak Prescott a quarterback that's able to get you to and win a Super Bowl? And if he's not, what do you think that criteria looks like?
I think it's situational, for sure. I think Dak in this situation, no, he's not the quarterback to lead this Dallas Cowboys team probably to a Super Bowl win. I don't see that happening. But I think Dak as a quarterback is capable of leading a team, just not this team. I don't think this team is built to help him as much. And I think the run game, the lack of run game that we've seen so far is the biggest reason for that. I don't think the quarterback has to be a world star. Of course, we're seeing what Brock is doing. Of course, Kyle Shanahan, that shit just different over there for him and his scheme. But no, I think Dak definitely has the tools to, because he knows how to manage the game. He knows how to do it. These last couple of seasons, these interception problems have been, glorified. But before that, he wasn't throwing picks like this. It's just been really crazy lately. But I don't know what that could have been from. I don't know. It's hard to know. But
interception luck, maybe.
Yeah. Turnover worthy plays is what they call them this season. So, so I think Dak is the type of quarterback that can win your Super Bowl, but you got to have the pieces around it. You got to have a good run game. I think Dak needs a good run game to sustain his ability. So,
how about you, Chris?
I I think if we had like if their team was like around like the 2018, if they had the defense of now with that team, I think he could. But
2018.
like around that area, like I'm talking about basically when he had, like Cass said, basically when they had a run game.
Mm.
You know, around that time, like that's when they had a run game. Amari Cooper came in. Their offense was built to where he didn't have to, I guess, make too many outlandish decisions. You know,
He
it was
took what the
very
defense gave him.
simplified,
He took what the
right?
defense gave him. Yeah.
And it was like the threat of the fact that Zeke can bust one open at any time made for his receivers to be wide open for him to hit them. And so I'm kind of agreeing with Cass. Like the team that he has around him now, I can't necessarily say that, but I don't think he's just. I don't think he's just a terrible quarterback. It's just what they have in Dallas. Like he's one of them quarterbacks to me needs like a Travis Kelce type. Like one of them like intermediate, but he's secure catching and he's making
I don't think he
plays
would be
happen.
good with Travis Kelce, honestly.
I don't know.
It's
I
not,
just feel like the tight end for him would make it better for him.
He definitely plays well with good tight ends, but like Travis Kelce's like the way he improvises, it's shown more because of Pat Mahomes and stuff like that. Like, and you know, he was good with like Alex Smith, but he's all time with Patrick Mahomes for a reason because they're on the same page, they're on the same.
Okay, well, or then Mark Andrews. Then how about that?
Maybe, yeah, that's fine.
I'm just saying. I just feel like a tight end.
I get it. I mean, he plays well. He plays better when he has a good tight end, especially. I mean, obviously, one of the things that people have mentioned is like the drop off with the red zone. Aside from Kellen Moore, is also with Dalton Schultz being gone and Zeke on top of that, as you mentioned. But I mean, I agree that Dak is the type of quarterback that can win a Super Bowl, can get you to a Super Bowl, and I think, especially because he plays for Dallas, like people's expectations. Obviously, if you're a Dallas Cowboy and you're in reality you're like a top 20 quarterback, you're like automatically top 15. Like you're top 15, you're automatically top 10. Like you're top 10, you're automatically like a superstar. And one of the things that I think that we always talk about, and they always have rankings on in terms of quarterbacks and players and stuff like that. One of the things that I do like, and we've seen a shift, some people shift more towards tiers. I know one of the, obviously Nick Wright and First Things First, they do it a lot. That's something that I do like personally, is more the tier system. But I would do it a little differently, where I would say there's superstars, and I would even say this goes to like the NBA too, in terms of like we call every star a superstar. They want to call every quarterback that's like decently good a superstar. There's only like 5 superstars in my opinion, which is like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes. I'd probably put Lamar in there personally, and maybe Herbert or Hurts, however you want to argue that one out. And then I would say I'd probably actually just say Herbert. I'm sorry.
Honestly, I would have stopped at Lamar.
Probably top 4.
Yeah,
but I don't think it should be more than 4, 5.
And I mean that's perfectly fine. And then I think that those are the type of quarterbacks that if you don't necessarily have A or B players at every position, those guys will still get you to the playoffs. They might not get you to the Super Bowl, but a few years ago, I guess we can talk about the Falcons Super Bowl run. Aaron Rodgers was and the Packers were the team that the Falcons played in the NFC Championship. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I want to say maybe the top 3 or 4 receivers ended up getting hurt. And Aaron Rodgers was still able to get them at least to the NFC Championship, and they got waxed. But with that being said, I mean, I think that's kind of the ilk that I'm more getting at. And then I think Dak falls squarely into kind of like you guys have mentioned. You have to have a complete team around him to really so that he can be that point guard, that Chris Paul, that quarterback. Because, like I said, I've said it in the previous episodes, and it's kind of cliche to say he's not like that playmaker or somebody that it's more so some of like the off-platform throws or the off-script. Like once you're not in that first 15, that first 30 plays, what you do once the defense starts to settle in. A lot of times, that's where we see Dax struggle, and some of the quarterbacks in that same kind of tier like Kirk Cousins or even Jared Goff. A lot of people want to hate on Jared Goff, but as we see, Jared Goff is great and been to a Super Bowl
and late game magic. That's what we've seen from those four quarterbacks that you talked about compared to Dak, where late in the game, more often than not, he's making a bad decision or throwing a pick. And that's not what you need to do when the game is on the line. And that's what we've seen Pat, Josh lead their team down, get them in field goal range or score a touchdown, 2-minute, offense like that. Like we haven't seen much of that from Dak, honestly, and definitely haven't seen this season. So
and more so, and not necessarily that we haven't seen it, we just haven't seen it necessarily against those teams, like those games, the games that the playoff game. I mean, his rookie year, that's typically that's probably Dak's best playoff game against the Packers in a game that they lost. Obviously, they ended up coming back and scoring, with 30, 40 seconds left, and then Aaron Rodgers obviously went. Once again, Aaron Rodgers, he went and made the plays to get the team to the win. But, it's those games, it's the games like against the 49ers or against the 49ers in the past 2 years where they've had that opportunity to go down and score and win the game at the end, and they end up then ultimately not doing that. So that's kind of my thoughts, and it seems like we're all on the same page with that. And that's something that's interesting, and obviously we're just going to start hearing more and more about that conversation.
Because there's been a lot of discourse about like, oh, they should get rid of Dak, or they should move on from Dak. I don't think that's the best thing for this team. I mean, of course, when you talk about money, that's a whole different story. Yes, and you have a lot of money tied up into that.
I'll say this. A lot of teams, they fall in love with the fact that, your starter get hurt and then you got a backup come in and they play good for X amount of games. And it's like, whether the teams want to admit it or not, you're not preparing for the backup in general. So you don't always know how they play or what they can do per se. And so in a short game span, yes, they could be elite. They could do some stuff. But but they're a backup for a reason. There's a reason why they're not playing the entire 16 game. And I think that sometimes that's quarterbacks fall victim to that. And I think that's one thing for Dak, because that was one of the questions last year. What's his name?
Cooper Rush.
He came in for 4 games, three or 4 games, and lost one, and then won the other one. It's like, he's been playing better than Dak, but it's like he has no expectation. If they try him out, if Mike McCarthy decided to play him for the entire 16-game season, he'll be fired before the season.
It's definitely interesting. But I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that, I guess, in terms of like some people saying that, in the conversation of saying that, getting rid of Dak, and the grass isn't always greener, because it is hard to find a quarterback. I mean, I'm as a fan of the Colts, obviously we lost a franchise quarterback, and we're still trying to find one. And now, the new franchise quarterback might be hurt, might have to get shoulder surgery. So who the hell knows? But with that being said, I do understand the point of like not wanting to stay in mediocrity, which is kind of where the Cowboys have been like teetering on. Is obviously they've had some good runs, but they're basically a very mediocre team. Like they're never too bad. They're never great. Even though we like to say they're great, they're always like right in the middle, either on the cusp of making the playoffs or they make the playoffs in their first round exit. So I do get that, but you have to be right if you do that. In the event that you do get rid of Dak, you have to be right on that next guy, or it starts to look bad on everybody. So, but yeah, like I said, it sounds like
the other thing I was about to say is like, they have the thing about Dallas is when the last time they actually invested in a quarterback?
They invested in Tony Romo. But
he's undrafted. I mean, invested. I'm talking about.
like
My
a
bad.
first round pick or something like
Yes,
that.
that's what I meant.
I mean,
That's what I meant. Like
they've had some luck with it, so I mean, they
Yeah,
didn't
they had some luck.
necessarily have to do it, but I mean, could be something to be seen. They were trying to use a first round pick to get Paxton Lynch and lucked into getting Dak, so maybe it's not always, you know,
that's true.
so. But with that being said, that kind of wraps up the NFL talk for the week.